These are the men and women for Team Baby Symbra, who's done the cycle for Europe, and they've cycled in 2 weeks from Skopje in North Macedonia all the way to Varberg. That's 2,500 kilometers, and that's also worth a big hand, I believe, because that's a long way to go on cycle. It's a long way to go on cycle. Of course, they've done it to support the Loza Foundation. Loza Foundation does help and support vulnerable people in some of the poorest countries of Europe. They run 2 children homes in Skopje, and they help people in Bosnia and also women who still live in refugee camps in the former Republic of Yugoslavia. And here to talk a bit more about that and about the cycling, of course, and sustainability is Sanna Grubbeson, the founder, one of the founders of Loza Foundation. Very welcome. Varsågod.
Hello. What is social sustainable development? Most people think of fighting air pollution or defending the nature. But we must understand the ecosystem and the human footprint. And each and every one in all countries share the same air and the ocean and the earth, and we must cooperate and take responsibility, all of us. 2015, warning signals of climate change, refugee crisis, EU immigrants on our streets. That year I decided to leave my career, change branch and work for something meaningful. I decided to dedicate my time to Europe. That same year, the global goals were adopted by all members of United Nations. The global goals interconnect and is the key to improve life for everyone on our planet. Agenda 2030 is a plan for how to work against climate change, poverty, and conflict. So I created Loza Foundation to have a platform to work from. When I was a child, my dream was world peace and no starvation. Grown-ups said that's impossible. So, when I read the global goals today and Agenda 2030, when I read the global goals and Agenda 2030, I believe that that is possible. That my dream is no longer impossible. Sorry, it's been tough 2 weeks. And this is something we must fight for to survive. Thank you for the applause, that helped me. Now, Loza Foundation means family. Loza focus on the human family to build a network that cooperate for a human sustainable development, starting with our continent, Europe. So how can we commit to the sustainable development, and why is it so important? Air pollution in Europe is concentrated in the poorest countries. Countries that are fully occupied with unemployment and poverty. Countries that buy garbage from the neighboring countries for economic reasons. With a population that every day search ways to leave the country. The poorest countries are struggling with all those issues, while we are occupied with us. So, Leaning on the global goals and the United Declaration of Human Rights, we can work for a positive development. We can improve life conditions, prevent unnecessary suffering, and inspire to a fair system here in Europe. There are 17 goals for sustainable development. 8 of them are concerning human development. All of them depend on us to stop thinking only about ourselves. So, Loza Foundation is a non-profit organization. I work without salary to work for social sustainable development in the poorest countries of Europe, to fight corruption and unfair systems, to raise awareness about the weak and the vulnerable. Loza Foundation is a voice for the defenseless, questioning decision makers, to inspire to democracy and inclusion where all members of the society counts. Number 1 of the global goals, poverty. North Macedonia, Bosnia, Kosovo, and Moldavia are the poorest countries in Europe, with a pollution that is giving the least resources for health, education, and development, according to the Human Development Index. When I started the research behind my work, it was when I visited institutions for the sick and disabled that I found my driving force. Tucked away in distant places, there are people nobody can see, who live in terrible conditions like animals, defenseless, without knowing their human rights. Where the people working there are afraid to lose their job if they complain. They are victims as well. We live in the most fair country in the world. We are free to take responsibility. We are free to speak. If we don't act, who will? Set a limit for unnecessary human suffering. Act and defend defenseless. Let's inspire with the fantastic system we have here in Sweden. To fight poverty, children need education, to be included in the society. If we invest in their future, they will contribute to the society. Goal number 10 of the global goals is equality. The hashtag is leave no one behind, regardless of gender, function, status, religion, and culture. Now, how can we succeed with sustainable development? When I wrote the statutes of Loza, I trust goal number 17. This is possible through international cooperation where no countries and no people are left outside, with a focus on the poorest countries. So, when I met Martin Becken a couple of years ago and heard about Team BV cycling for a good cause, I saw a company with a leadership that leads with a heart. So when I was invited to BV's launch of Use Reuse a year later, and Martin launched that Team BV dedicated next year's cycling to Loza Foundation, I was amazed and really surprised, and probably Martin as well, when I already planned the cycling. The cycling was going to be called Cycle for Europe to raise awareness of Loza Foundation. And I told Martin that we will cycle between Macedonia and Sweden. And we had some help from fantastic bike heroes that realized this idea, who dedicated time and energy for our cause. Starting up in northern Macedonia, present on TV, radio, press conference, and an event on the main square in the middle of the capital, where government representative and Swedish embassy attended the start and cycled with us out of the city, together with 50 children. Because right before the takeoff from Skopje, Martin and Jonas at Bevi donated 58 bicycles that they asked friends, families, colleagues, and companies to donate to those children at the children's homes that Loza Foundation support. Imagine the happiness of these children. Imagine the happiness having a bicycle for the first time. This creates hope for the future. And what a journey. What a journey Cycle for Europe became. Those landscapes, that was far more than any of us expected. Days of amazement and beauty. I must say I was overwhelmed, and if I was tired before, after a few days, I was filled to the brim with energy to continue to work. Great thanks to all bicyclists that made this possible. By 4 teams, we took the way from Macedonia to Sweden, and all those cyclists dedicating all their time and energy to help. And thank you all supporters that donated gold, silver, and bronze for our cause. Company heroes that make it possible for Loza Foundation to continue our work. Since we received close to 600,000, and we are completely dependent on these funds to remain, we can continue our work. I would like a great applaud for your contribution. Thank you all supporters. And now this is going to be hard. I would like to thank Baby Simbra. Oh my God. Okay, from the beginning. Can I have an applaud? That will help. Thank you. I wrote an email days before Cycle for Europe started, and I will read it for you, a part of it. Dear Baby Simbra, I want to express my deepest gratitude. When you said yes to cycling for what I have been fighting for years, I saw a company with a great heart. When you agreed to cycle through the poorest countries of Europe to raise awareness of something unknown and invisible, I saw a company with courage and engagement, a pioneer, a brave company that is something out of the ordinary. For me and for Loza Foundation, I have a hard time finding words for this. This means that I will do my best to make you feel what I feel. For nearly 4 years, I have had hundreds of meetings, lectures. I have written numerous press releases and emails, mostly for deaf ears, without real impact. I have received no answer, and I have met silence, often just silence. Then imagine the happiness and euphoria I feel when Baby Simbra stands up and dedicates working hours, staff, and donates this whole event. You have given so much hope and energy to me and the organization that will last for years to come and never to be forgotten. And I can't thank you enough from all the hundreds of children, women, people with special needs that we now can continue to work for. Thanks for Cycle for Europe. For you have saved our budget. And I am convinced that after this, more companies will follow and collect the last 400,000 that we need to continue with our budget. When a company takes a step forward and shows the way, it inspires more to follow. You are a true role model and a hero for other companies to look up to. Thank you, Bevi. You must be proud. I just also want to thank Peter Algebäck and Brain Forest that donated to make us visible. And I would like to thank everybody that made a swish and a donation to support. And after I talk, people ask, how can we contribute? What can I do except for giving money? Well, please buy a bracelet. This bracelet is right where the apple pie is. You can swish or pay it however you like. The money goes to our projects, and let it remind you of social sustainable development. And then go home to your family and sit down around the kitchen table with your family and your children and have a talk about how can I and how can our family contribute to a social sustainable development or a sustainable development. Look at the global goals, learn how to contribute, because it is you and me that begins with. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabina. As I said, fantastic cyclists, fantastic people with donating money, fantastic people at Baby Symbra that help her out. But the biggest hero is Sabina Grubbeson.